Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Human Performance Outliers podcast with Zach Bitter. Next is how to properly taper for a 100-mile event. So I like doing a 2-week taper usually. Sometimes I'll push this out to 3 weeks if I feel like we hit some really big milestones and got in all those back-to-back long runs like I just described. And I think the person would really benefit from a little bit more of a chilled 3-week approach leading into their taper. But oftentimes I like to go with more of a 2-week approach. But either way, what you're looking to do over the course of your taper is reduce your volume and intensity as you get closer to race day. Now, 100-milers are awfully unique in the sense that if you're programming it from least specific to most specific, like I do, then intensity is really a variable that has sort of teased itself out for the most part in that final preparatory stages of the race prep itself. So you don't really have to worry so much about that side of the equation because it's basically been worked out already by the time you get to your taper or that final few weeks leading into the taper itself. So it's really more about just reducing the overall volume. And that's going to be consistent whether you're someone who is doing these Herculean high volume training blocks, or if you're someone who is a little bit of a more of a low volume approach type of person, or just simply newer to it and you're working with where you're at and it's just happens to be lower volume versus maybe someone else who's done it a few times. Either way, you still want to kind of just drop that volume down a bit each week leading into the race itself. The one time I would maybe do a little bit differently would be if you say doing a 3-week taper, in which case what I would do is I would make that 3rd week out a little more of an aggressive taper and then the 2nd week. So that 3rd week out is kind of like absorbing a lot of that training stimulus you did in that final buildup. The 2nd week, you're getting pretty well recovered from it. So you can just inch it up a little bit more from that 3rd week. And then that final week, whatever rest you need leading to the race day, you're going to want to take so you're feeling fresh and ready to go on race day. But for some actual numbers, I like somewhere around 70% of peak volume that 1st week of the taper, and then 50% at most volume that week leading into the race itself. That should give you enough running so you're not feeling rusty on race day. It's not a long enough time or a big enough removal of training that you're actually losing fitness. You should find yourself in a position where you are this beautiful blend of fresh and fit and ready to run your best 100-miler on that day. All right. Let me know if I should address that question in more detail. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Human Performance Outliers podcast with Zach Bitter.